What's going on, guys? It's Will Mitchell here. Today, I want to talk to you about current economic situation in Belize, the current economic situation in the US, do some forecasting for 2022, and also talk about the Belize real estate market and what's happening in 2021 and what are we seeing that's going to happen in 2022. So let's get into it. First of all, probably one of the most common questions we get, what happened to the Belize real estate market during the pandemic? Not specifically about the lifestyle here. You know, we've pretty much been able to maintain a great lifestyle. It's not very hard to do when you're on a tropical island, even when you do have some limitations set in place. But let's talk about the real estate market. So what I have here is some of the data for RE/MAX Belize. Obviously, as many of you are aware, I'm the regional owner for RE/MAX Belize, which gives me access to this data. We have 13 offices, 80 agents in the country. And the stat I have here is the gross commission volume. So in 2018, we were at an all-time high. We remained relatively stagnant up to 2020, but in 2021, we almost saw, or I guess we saw actually more than tripling of the total commission volume for all the agents in the country. Same thing happened for the total transaction volume and the sales volume. So all of these metrics went up. When you look at a market, and we're going to talk about how this has impacted prices in a little bit here, and I think you're going to be surprised with how it has. But overall, it's a great sign for the real estate market, and it's extremely healthy right now. The country's seeing a ton of foreign investment. The US economy. Obviously, we're right beside the US. You have numerous direct flights, English-speaking country. Belize dollar is pegged 2-to-1 to the US dollar, so there's a lot of reasons why this is important for Belize to look at. But what I want to focus on more is, as an investor, what are you currently holding your, investment in? Are you holding it, your funds in US dollars? Are you investing in crypto? Are you investing in real estate, stocks, bonds, mutual funds? What is it? Because a lot of the key metrics right now, when you look at the United States of America, definitely are a little concerning, to say the least. When you look at consumer price indexes putting inflation at about 7%, many experts say it could be quite a bit higher than that. Approximately 20% of the currency in circulation in the US being printed in the past year and a half, roughly. More than doubling of the amount of Americans giving up their US citizenship going into 2020. This is a really big indicator of what's going on with trends, and the reality is inflation is pretty much just a sneaky way to tax anyone who's using the US dollar, which is most of the world. So if you're holding your money in US dollars right now, you're losing purchasing power and you're pretty much making a negative return on your investment. Whether you think it's an investment or not, it really is. So putting those funds to use, looking at real estate, looking at hard assets that are a great hedge against inflation. What do I mean by that? Well, if the US government prints a bunch of money and it's worth, way less, you can just raise the price of your real estate. So holding hard assets is a fantastic way to hedge inflation. Definitely an important thing to look at. But right now in the US, I think there's enough stuff going on, and we're seeing this every day with the increased amount of people calling us, emailing us. There's definitely enough reason to be looking abroad to at least hedge bets and make sure you have numerous eggs out of this one basket. So with regards to the US economy and real estate prices in the US went up approximately 20%. The average typical home price in the United States now is approximately $320,662, which again up 20% more than it was in January 2021. So how does this affect purchasing in the US? Well, real estate in the US, the reality is it's probably going to continue to rise at these rates. You might see a little bit of a dip, but overall it's a very safe investment. Let's talk about Belize and how we've seen an impact. So I showed you this chart at the beginning of this little presentation talking about commission volume. The key thing to note in Belize is that because we don't have an MLS, even though we've seen this major uptick in transaction volume, and commission volume and all these major metrics that you're looking at from a real estate standpoint, the market hasn't fully adjusted to the amount of appreciation that should have occurred. Lots are still appreciating, homes are appreciating, condo developments, hotels, everything is appreciating, but it's a slower moving appreciation that hasn't really caught up to where the market should be. What do I mean by this? Well, basically what I'm trying to lay out is that because the imperfect information in the market, no MLS, there's still a significant opportunity to catch up and acquire property before prices go up. So this is a really good indicator for us. and that imperfect information sometimes does have big benefits. So Belize land as an investment or storage of wealth. So what's the great thing about Belize? Let's talk about the 2008-2009 downturn, because really what we're talking about as well, beyond investment, is making sure that, you know, it's less about getting a return on your investment, which obviously that's great and we love seeing that, but it's more just getting a return of your investment. So what do I mean by that? Well, you want to find asset classes and things you can invest in that you know you're secure. That's basically, you know, your safety, that you know it's going to be there. So why is Belize Real Estate something that meets those qualifications? Well, I'll tell you why. In Belize, back to 2008-2009, during the global financial crisis, we saw an increase in the amount of transaction volume. Why would we see that when we're going into a global crisis? Well, because so many people are looking to invest and get their funds abroad, get it away from those other asset classes, just like we talked about on the previous slides, and get them into something more secure. So in those times, we also don't see a big impact on values in the real estate market. So just to take that crisis again, when all of these properties that are so highly leveraged, because it really was a real estate bubble, all this bad debt, these, you know, this financing that should have never happened, and then everyone starts defaulting on these loans, and that's when the market crashes. In Belize, because so few properties are bank financed, it really doesn't have that circumstance. Most things are clear title ownership. You have to be a local to get financing from a bank for the most part, unless you go to one of the international banks. If you do go to one of the international banks, the rates are going to be extremely high. In general, 10 to 12%. They're going to do about 50% LTV, so you're not going to get a ton of financing entering the market, and it's an extremely unleveraged market. So the downside of that is if you're looking to buy a property right now, you're going to have to look to other outlets, which our team can help you find. The upside is you have the peace of mind knowing that the market isn't just going to go crash one day and you're going to lose all your money or all your equity in those properties. The other great thing about Belize from an economic standpoint is the new blue bond deal that the government worked out, where they actually managed to get rid of $250 million of their debt. So that's a huge portion of the Belize government's debt. Instead of the debt increasing, Belize is actually trending to get rid of its debt, which is something that we really love to see. And not only are they getting rid of their debt, in this deal, they negotiated to preserve and conserve 30% of the reef. So it's got a huge impact from an environmental standpoint, and there's potential to actually get rid of more of the Belize national debt and take $250 million out right away, which has already happened. So again, we talked about transaction volume increasing, and the government's doing great things like the investment summit, which you guys saw. Stephen Harper came out, the former Prime Minister of Canada, and spoke. The Prime Minister of Belize was there, and numerous other great, amazing guest speakers. So the current economic, standpoint of Belize, and from my perspective, I would say things are looking very positive. There's a lot of great steps being taken, and reducing the debt is something that you just can't ignore, really. And then from a standpoint of personally investing in the market, there's a big upside from it being a highly unleveraged market. So what are the different strategies if you are looking to buy land in Belize? Well, there's a few we can talk about that we've helped our clients do. One is a simple buy and hold. The carrying costs on land are extremely low. Usually if you take kind of a standard lot in the Secret Beach area, it's about $75 per year. To give you kind of the standard tax rate, it's usually 1 to 1.5% of the undeveloped land. So in other words, it's very, very cheap. Most lots that you'll buy won't have additional HOAs. In some cases, you might have an HOA, but if you're just buying the land, it will usually be pretty insignificant. So that's a great strategy. You know, just buy, let a lot of the development going on right now, all these millions of dollars of foreign investment entering the market, let that enter the market and you hold your property. So that's strategy one. Strategy two will be to resell with vendor financing. So you buy a lot for cash, then resell it to a purchaser with 10% interest or whatever the terms you might want, and then that note is going to be your return. So you might sell it with a profit and then your interest rate, which is a great model to garner a much higher return than the -7 approximately that the US dollar is bringing back for people right now. Obviously I say that tongue in cheek. Next option would be to spec build a home. So if you own land in the market, you go into ground, you build out a nice home. There's something really interesting going on in this market right now, just like many people are experiencing in the US and in Canada. There's not a ton of single family home inventory here. A lot of it's either been bought up during the pandemic or we just really didn't have a ton from the start because so much of the breakdown of units, especially in Ambergris Key, were 1 bedroom, studio, and 2 bedroom. So few homes are there in the market. In general, we see homes selling for 20 to upwards of 100% above the replacement cost of what it was built for. A prime example would be the Cottage Cottage in Mahogany Bay, which was built for, just rough estimates, about $350 to at most $400 and sold for $570 the other day. So significant profit margin there. So spec building is a great option. Doing an Airbnb rental project, or there's also a major gap in the market right now for monthly rentals because so many people have developed Airbnbs. So if you want a more stable investment, monthly rentals are a huge opportunity right now. So that's pretty much it, guys. Just a quick little economic analysis. If you have any questions or want us to go more in depth on this, put it in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, guys, we can't wait to see you down here in paradise.